Good morning, my name is Frank Walsimbi. Welcome to Uganda First, a show that we hope is already instilling patriotism. Today we look at tolerance as a way of building patriotism. Tolerance, like we normally define it, it is the ability or willingness to tolerate something like opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. In today's discussion, we want even to go deeper than that definition and look at tolerance as a notion that is widely embraced, and considered critical for the peaceful functioning of diverse societies like ours. Uganda is a very diverse society. Differences and all disagreements are part of humanity. We cannot take that away. But when tolerance comes in, we can overcome our differences, disagreements, and conflicts. By the way, tolerance does not want to assimilate or eliminate difference, but to negotiate it for the achievement of new values and visions, and generally to deal with conflicts in a creative way. Patriotic citizens should be seen to practice tolerance because it is among the very top values that can help us live in harmony. Welcome, Sister Mary Grace Akiro from the Office of the President, the Department of RDCs, and Honorable Asmani Chiyinji, the Deputy Chairperson, Leadership Code Tribunal. Leadership Code Tribunal, Honorable. What do you deal with in that tribunal? I kept thinking to myself, what is Leadership Code Tribunal? Good to see you. Good to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Sister, good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Honorable, you could start by shedding some light. Leadership Code Tribunal.
Thank you so much, my brother Frank. And I want to thank the management of NTV for inviting me to this important show to interact with the fellow Ugandans and the global community. I also want to extend my thanks to the sponsors of this program. The
National Secretariat for Patriotism Corps.
National Secretariat for Patriotism Corps in the Office of the President. As you said, my name is Asmani Chiyinji. I serve on the Leadership Code Tribunal as Deputy Chairperson. The Leadership Code Tribunal, as the name suggests, it is a tribunal which adjudicates breaches of the leadership code. There is a leadership code provided for under the Constitution of Uganda.
That one, at least many know about it.
Yes. And the tribunal too is actually created by the Constitution of Uganda, Article 235A.
Okay.
With a specific mandate to adjudicate breaches of the leadership code. The leadership code is about standards of behavior by leaders. Leaders should be honest. Leaders should be selfless. Leaders should use offices that they are entrusted with as a trust.
Transparency.
They should be transparent. They should be accountable for everything they do. They should use the offices for the benefit of the entire community, not individually. When they do otherwise, they are in breach of the leadership code. If, for example, you recruit only relatives, if you recruit only your fellow religionists, if you amass wealth,
my village people,
if you amass wealth illegally beyond your means of your income, then you are breaching the code. And after investigation by the Inspectorate of Government, the matter is brought to the tribunal for adjudication. And once we find you that you're in breach, there can be consequences. You may be dismissed from your job, you may be demoted, you may be stopped from taking on any public job for some time actually. 5 to 10 years, depending on the gravity of the...
So essentially you have powers of the High Court, is it?
Oh, yeah, sure. We are a judicial body that can even confiscate property. If, for example, we find that your property cannot be explained by your income from the government, and there is no other reasonable explanation whether it was given to you or not, then we can say this property should be forfeited to government. So we have powers of the High Court. We are a judicial institution.
We want to hear you.
Serve
yes.
with 5. We are 5 in total. My chairperson is Dr. Rosemary Karugonja Segawa. I'm the deputy chairperson. We have another member, Honorable Jane Okelwange. We have another member by the name of Didas Mufasha Bakunzi. And lastly but not least, Honorable Joyce Nalunga Virimamaso. That's the tribunal which sits to adjudicate issues of the breach of the leadership code in Uganda.
Very good. That's very good information. We want to hear you confiscating property of the unpatriotic people who loot money from government offices.
Yes.
Yeah? Sister, good to have you. This conversation about tolerance in Uganda as a way of building patriotism, where do you think we should start? Where do you think there is a problem? People are not united, there is a disunity, and this medicine we want to discuss should start from there.
I want to thank you, Frank. First, I would like to say good morning, viewers. I want in a special way to thank the management of NTV.
Thank you.
For inviting me to this show. I also wish to extend, in the same vein, my thanks to the sponsors of this program.
The National
Secretariat of Patriotism Corps in the Office of the President.
Yes.
We've normally shared a few things together. I am very, very happy that today we are here to try to look at issues pertaining to patriotism and more so the tolerance. I definitely want, first of all, to agree with Honorable in the area of the tribunal that is managing the discipline of many of us.
Leaders.
Many of us. But I would love to see it bite seriously. Why am I saying so? Because the element of corruption has eaten the country. And many of these people are so sophisticated, so to say. Where do they get this money from? They amass a lot of wealth at the expense of the needy, of the population of this country. The tribunal needs to actualize these consequences so that somehow, somewhere, if it is actualized, this corruption, we would have sunk it a little. But each year, each time, it is accelerating. So where is the problem? Back to tolerance.
Before tolerance, we're giving theft beautiful names, corruption. These are it is theft, theft of government monies.
Absolutely, it is theft. It is, name it, it has so many names.
Tolerance.
Tolerance is what we are here today for. For me, for us to coexist peacefully, tolerance has to be exercised. And I would feel that it should start from the family. Why the family? All of us have grown through from one family or the other.
Sure.
And from that family is when we spread schools. If schools continue giving us the input, we continue. The leaders come from these families. So if tolerance is duly exercised in a family, husband and wife, children, name it, I'm sure coexistence, a peaceful coexistence would be there. And even when we become leaders in a country like this one, we shall be able to tolerate each other and work towards the common good. When we tolerate each other, we will be able to exercise this value of forgiveness. Say, yes, you've stepped on me, I forgive you. We must coexist, because there are so many things which make us rub our soldiers and not coexist peacefully. But with tolerance, we can be able to coexist peacefully.
Honorable Basman, you've been in politics for quite some time, politician, lawyer, and you see people in conflict, people in serious disagreement. Have you seen tolerance happening? If it doesn't, what do you think we should be doing right now?
Thank you so much, Frank. The beginning point is we do not understand why we must tolerate each other. There are people who think they can exist exclusive of others. I have a Muslim background, and one of the attributes of God is that God is the Lord of all the worlds, is the Lord of the universe.
Yes.
And that He created all that is in the world, including human beings. So human beings are just atoms within this universe. And for them to exist or survive, they must relate and work in harmony with others. You cannot survive without the sun. You cannot survive without the air. You cannot survive without your fellow human beings. Actually, to be called a human being, there must be other human beings.
A single atom is as good as useless.
Absolutely. So, Uganda is an entity. It has a diversity of ethnicities, a diversity of religious beliefs, a diversity of gender,
political entities,
opinions. We are all sorts of people.
Yes.
But we were born here. We were raised here. We ate the fruits, the food of this country, this our motherland. We must survive as an entity, as Ugandans. Therefore, we must learn to live with each other. And the only way you can live with each other is to understand and accept that we are different in opinion, in political affiliation, in religious affiliation, in ethnicity, but we must live together. And the only way you can achieve that is to tolerate. If you don't tolerate, then you cannot live together. And I agree entirely with the sister, Akiro. Yeah, you can't, if you have been brought up from the family without imbuing the values and attributes of unity, then you'll have a problem at every stage. When you go to school, you can't relate with the people. If they told you at your home that a person who is not a Msoga is not a human being,
you will take it as
yes, abadokolo, agagasiram, together. You start having a negative attitude right from the outset. When you reach there, you'll not relate properly with those other people.
You instead cultivate enmity.
You cultivate enmity and exclusion. So I think the foundation is the family, the foundation are the communities, the foundation are the churches, the mosques. We should be cultivating deliberately these values of unity in diversity, tolerating opinions, different political ideologies and affiliation, different ethnicities, and even gender. For example, even disability. In some homes, a girl child is nothing. is just a horse. A boy is groomed like he's a king. He's served, he doesn't wash dishes, he just waits to eat. And when it comes to disabled people, they are kept behind. They don't show that this one, family, Now, if you exclude people like that, they cannot belong. They can't love their country. Everybody should be included. The children, whether you are disabled, whether you're a girl, you should know that actually this community appreciates and accepts me. Then patriotism will grow. That's what I can say for now.
Sister, looking back at our history, you know, we started as harmonious communities. Of course, there were problems so many centuries or years back. But of recent times, let's say in the contemporary times of the 19th, 20th, and maybe the century we are in right now, what could have been those elements that brought about disunity, and how can we, you know, try to deal with them to make sure that tolerance happens? I know of tribal lines. Those have been very, very emphatic in the past years, and as we speak, some people think they should move along tribal lines. You know, Chiyenjes from Busoga, therefore we of Uganda should act without him, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. Again, I imagine the communities of long ago, families of some years past, I think lived better communal lives. It's not that they didn't have differences. I don't think they must have had differences. They must have stepped on each other's feet, but the communal aspect seems to have taken the upper hand in the past communities, because when you even study in schools, you find these people of long ago used to go looking for their food together, clearing gardens, they would do it communally. What was the riding factor that was bringing them together? To me, I think possibly they really saw the need to move together, because together we can stand. Divided, we fall. Maybe they looked at that critically. But as years have kept on going, as you rightfully said, in the 20th, the 19th, you find that the division aspect is building very strongly. Where is the problem? Where is the problem? Because for me, I still insist that families would be the riding factor for this. Tolerance would begin from there. And then it is gradually built up as we grow in different schools, and as we take up responsibilities, name it. You find this division is really building up now. It is political, it is tribal, it is religion, name it. It means, one, are we doing enough? Maybe we are not doing enough, maybe. Because the church has a role to amplify a lot on morals. Because the aspect of morals also comes into play. If I know that Frank is my brother, Honorable King is my brother, I will protect him or her. I will protect him. That even if there is any other danger that comes, I will say, Frank, there's something that is going to happen. But in this era now, it is the opposite. People are looking for ways of harming each other. The communal aspect, even in families, you find families are not together. Families are breaking politically, because this one is NRM, this one is this, separate. So I think maybe we need to get back to the drawing board and look into issues that were binding people together. and probably try to promote through patriotism. And for me, maybe the patriotism, we're looking at school-going kids, school children, secondary, primary. Maybe we need to go beyond that. Maybe we need to look at, even if we think so-and-so is now not out of school, working, we need to get back to the drawing board and look at our system and the way we can still bring back people together, because it is important that we coexist.
Tell me about faith leaders like yourself, sister. I think in this conversation of tolerance, you should be seen, taking a bigger role, in fact. Talking to us, about this subject so that we come back to ourselves. It seems we are somewhere on a lost track. You talk of family, good, but marriage. Are married couples tolerating each other?
The family is
and I think as we speak now, the divorce rate is going up. In family court, the statistics are shocking.
Frank, thank you. It goes back to what I said earlier. What was binding in the early communities, early families?
Before Christianity even.
What was binding? Christianity also started some time back, though in a certain way. But it was there, even if it was like people begin.
Speaking in the reference of Uganda before 1879, February.
Because some of the things even we learned in schools, how the early people were managing to survive. But you find there is communal aspect is rotating. They moved together to go hunting, to look for whatever they looked for. They moved together, they sat around the fire to roast whatever was got. All elements of communal aspect. They went to a garden to clear together. Whatever, I don't know what they used for digging, for clearing, but the communal aspect was vividly seen in that history. Now, when you bring in the church, true, the church, as you rightfully put it, should be the one to take the pivotal role. However, the church has tried. But of recent, maybe getting more suffocated with all these things, politics, these tribal elements, the church, and the church also needs to be, some of all these issues need want to move. The church needs also to be facilitated, and the government needs to bring the church on board in these areas. Much as a church, they have an obligation as people come to commune together in prayer, which has also been choked a lot because of COVID lockdowns and name it. Each one is in his or her own cocoon. That is also one problem that we experience of recent. But the church tries, but I'm sure if the church is facilitated to handle certain areas, no, it doesn't mean the church is waiting to be facilitated to handle its role, especially in regard to morals and in regard to upbringing and talking to these families. The families, you are right to say divorce is like divorce now. But the cause is still, when you study this, it's around the whole thing is around politics, because we are different. Over different colors, I don't know. Majorly. If I disagree with you because I am A, or you are B, or you are color B, I am color yellow, then we disagree up to the last level. And you find now we have so many children abandoned because mother, father, the families have split, mother has gone her way, the father is on his own, these children are left under whose watch and then whose touch to say, this is wrong, this is right. This is your country, that is your sister, this is ABCD.
I hear you.
So a lot of things are breathing up. In fact, what we have seen is not yet. We are going to see the worst, the way I see.
Where are we going?
If we don't turn what is happening now, we need to turn around. You and I can do it. Thank you.
Honorable Osman.
Yes.
Before we go to the politics, we will come to that. It's one of those factors that cause serious disunity. But Sister speaks about that communal element, you know, as the binding, that binding element, you know, people come together, work together and what have you. But where we are now with the economic, you know, inequality, the poor, the wealthy, there are those who are in the middle there. Do you think we can still sit together and talk about things, tolerating each other? The poor think that the wealthy are, you know, taking away what they should be having, and the wealthy want to be in their own space. In a society like that, that kind of disparity, do you think tolerance can happen? If it can happen, how can it happen?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much, sister. Of course, it is true that our pre-colonial societies were communal, and largely because their way of subsistence depended on that communal approach to issues. You have primitive methods of cultivation, you hunt, you gather fruits communally. But when society changes and there are different ways of production and means of production, and ownership of property has also changed. Property which was communal is now individual. For example, in the past, land was communal. People didn't have titles, actually. You just said, me, I belong to the Ndiga clan. This land is for the Ndiga people.
And we shall
and
use
it's only for use. You just go there and produce what you want to survive and your family.
That was
it. Not for commercial use. So, but when the British come in and introduce, you know, their system of divide and rule, individualization of property, then this structure, the fabric, starts breaking apart. Actually, conflicts start. This is my property, you don't have this, you should not be here. Now, when you go commercial and you forget the welfare aspects of the society and the community, then conflicts naturally arise. It's not a bad thing that we should evolve and develop into capitalist societies. You can develop into capitalist societies but still maintain the values of the community.
Yeah.
Wealth should be accumulated. But even those who have not been able to accumulate wealth should be taken care of. The state should be able to collect taxes and channel those resources to the disadvantaged. Build good schools, build the hospitals, build the facilities, the roads are good, so that the whole community has a sense of belonging. So it is correct that we are no longer living that old society, but we can still salvage those attributes by having a society that cares. Because you see, if I don't have a stake in this community, you've abandoned me to my whims. I don't have water. When I fall sick, nobody cares. My children are not educated. My attachment to this entity called Uganda will start, you know, waning. I'll say, but what is in this thing? This is just for the Madivanis and the Sudiris, and for us poor people, we are just exploited and we're useless. So if I'm to belong to this great thing called Uganda, then the state must show that it cares for everybody. And the only way it can do that is to tax the rich and spend on the poor and poor schemes.
Equally.
Equally.
All right, thank you, Honorable Asmani Chiyinji, Vice Chair, Leadership Code Tribunal. Sister Mary Akiro, from the Office of the President, Department of Secretariat of RDC.
RDC Secretariat.
All right, good to have you on the show. We're still going on. We're coming back in the second segment. You can be a part of this conversation by sending message. We shall put the WhatsApp number there where you can share a thought or send in question. You can also use hashtag Uganda First on Twitter. Welcome back to Uganda First. We are looking at tolerance as a way of building patriotism in Uganda. The conversation is right in the middle if you have just joined us. You can go to Twitter, use hashtag Uganda First, and our WhatsApp number is going to be displayed shortly. We speak to people, Assistant Honorable, every week about what they think about Uganda generally, what they think identifies this country. If you went outside Uganda, what story would you tell to the people you find in that country where you've gone? You know, things that are positive about Uganda. Let's hear some of those people we spoke to yesterday.
One of the things that make me love my country is the nature, the green, because it's one of the countries that even in the middle of the city you'll never fail to find a green that is very fresh. So even when I'm outside of the country and I see something green and fresh, I just remember my country. So I'm very proud of the green that we keep. Though sometimes I get disappointed when people misuse the green we have. They cut down trees and do not plant other trees. It's not good. Those who raid our swamps, it's not good. Let's maintain the green because it keeps us fresh, it keeps our country looking nice. I love the motto of my country, for God and my country. Indeed, our country lives on the favor of God because whatever we do is guided by God. Even you see, our country is as beautiful because even the Bible says when God created, everything was beautiful. And we know the first creation lived in a natural environment which was green and people are eating fruits. So we have one of the best beautiful birds in the world. That's the crested crane. Whenever I see it around, last time I was in the Uganda Wildlife Education Center and I saw the crested crane, I couldn't fail to take a picture with it because that is what defines our country. So whenever I see the crested crane anywhere, even when I'm in the village and I see it, I can't fail to take a picture and post it and say, this is one of my national emblems because it is our country. We live by nature. It's for God and my country.
Kwegamba Uganda Katonda yatutonda nga tulina obuwangwa obw'enjawulo kye twandise cultures. Era ndowooza teriyo nsi esinga Uganda kubeera na byabuwangwa birungi. Ate ko naddala nga tugenze mu by'okuyimba n'okuzina, performing arts, nti tulina cultures zaffe ez'enjawulo z'otayinza kusanga wantu walala wonna. Bw'otuuka wano mu Buganda, Ssaabasajja Kabaka wangaali, oyo nno bwe mba mwogerako nzikakkana, otunuulira amazina agafa ag'ekinnansi, tolina walala w'osobola kugasanga. Naye yonna gye tulaze ne bw'oba oli ludda bw'otandika okuzina amazina ago, abantu bonna ne banyumirwa ne basanyuka. Bw'ogenda e Bunyolo, bw'ogenda Nkole, bw'ogenda e Busoga, bw'ogenda e Mbale, buli wamu, buli region, buli kitundu ekya Uganda kirina amazina ag'enjawulo agalaga kiki omuntu oyo kyali mu buwangwa bwe mu kitundu ekyo. Ekyo nno nze kye nsinga okwagala ku ggwanga Uganda n'ebivuga eby'enjawulo ebiwerekera amazina ago ebirungi ebinyuvu ebyawano ebyaffe eby'ekinnansi. Naye ekintu kimu kyenkyawa ku ggwanga lino bwe bulyake n'obuli bw'enguzi obufumbekedde mu bitongole ebitufuga. So singa nno bwali nga bulambulukufu ensi eno ekulukuta omubisi n'amata yalibadde yeeyagaza buli omu. Naye enkola y'emirimu eri mu bitongole ebisinga obungi yeesinza okunafuya ensi yaffe.
Nze wentegeerera nti oli mu Uganda bintu ebyenjawulo. Ekisooka mu byonna kasita olaba bodaboda nga nnyingi nnyo nga ziri ewantu wamu olwo tuba tuli ku bitaala. Zirindamu eddakiika emu ebitaano eba tebinnayaka green nti go. Tukimanyi bulungi nti green yagamba go. Naye wano mu Uganda oba wakatunula bwoti ogera okola boda nga nnyingi nnyo ziri mu kifo kimu ebitaala oba byeri ku red oba orange oba byo nga boda.
Some of those individuals we spoke to about Uganda here, when he sees borders packed in the same position, he will know that that's now a point for traffic lights. But in our city, I don't know, we need to resurrect tolerance in our city. Motorists, border riders, people are not tolerating each other in this city if you happen to move around every day at least. That's evident. Do you want to supplement, Honorable Chinji?
Yeah, I actually want to agree with one of the people there who said Uganda is a very beautiful country.
Yeah.
I was Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, and I traveled quite a bit. And it's not an exaggeration, and the president keeps saying it, but people think maybe, what could he say? But Uganda is really a very beautiful country. When you go out there, you see the people who you admire, these other countries, you eat their food, you stay in the environment, you simply can't find a Uganda anywhere in the world. When you come back, you feel that this is a truly naturally gifted place. Fresh air, very sweet food, very warm people. But the negative is what he has pointed out.
Theft, corruption.
That really, we who are in public offices, when we abuse the trust of the people and abuse these offices, and instead of utilizing national resources for the benefit of everybody, we use them to benefit ourselves to the exclusion of others, then people develop that disgust and say, look, this thing called Uganda is just for the few. So it is a perfectly legitimate concern that the fight against corruption, actually, if we succeed in that fight, Ugandans will love their country even the more. And on the traffic lights and the behavior of Ugandans on the streets is horrible. It's horrible. But it is intolerance and indiscipline actually combined. Ugandans simply have lost the discipline to live organized lives.
I don't know why many of us hate organized life.
You
organized
go
towns.
In a place, you go in a bank, someone finds you are lining up
In the queue, and then
all of you want to get money, then someone will come.
they will bypass the queue.
Bypass you. You are in the jam, you are
In a
lining
single
up.
lane.
A single lane. Someone comes and says, no, I'm in a hurry. And when you look at the fellow who's in a hurry, you don't even know.
That defeats
He's not
me.
carrying a patient, he's not an ambulance. But the guy can't simply wait for the others to move. So we have a culture of indiscipline and intolerance, and actually disregard for others. We always think it is me, the other people don't matter. Selfishness, as it were. And it is partly, I don't want to go into political economy, but this neoliberalism in our economy and the attitudes and ideology has really harmed us a lot. People thinking it is me, it's me, everything starts with me and ends with me. Others don't matter, the end justifies the means. I can accumulate whatever wealth I can, regardless of everybody, whether everybody is being impoverished. So that neoliberalism has really hurt us a lot. Yeah. And it partly explains, actually, the massive corruption. Because we've glorified wealth, we've glorified material possessions, the inner core ethical values have been relegated to the periphery. In fact, when you talk about those things, they say, Lavo, no, you look like you are the odd guy around because you're talking about those inner core values. And I think we need to really urge our churches as the custodians of our moral foundations that these values need to be reinculcated in the population. Our children, our flocks, in churches, in mosques. People should respect that humanity is humanity. Every human being is important. And you cannot exist alone. You should look at the interests and the values that other people bring on the table.
Sister, you've had conversation, I don't know, which district do you come from, Gulu?
No, I come from Teso.
Oh, Teso. Okay, okay. You've had conversation when somebody gets into a public office and they live a modest life, they get their salary genuinely, you know, and get out without any scandal in there. People laugh at them. So you went to a government office and you came out just like that. You've had that in Teso, people saying such things. And I think we should start by deconstructing that you know, material, glorifying wealth, glorifying theft. we should start from there, I think, by stressing that that is wrong, and it can actually lead to a legal action if you amass wealth in a wrong way.
Thank you, Frank. What is, I really must say, just as Honorable has stated, what is happening in our country, maybe wherever, is really very painful and regrettable. Because the aspect of indiscipline, intolerance, disregard for anything, even for life, is growing deeply amongst many of us in the country. So, such that even when you mention about forgiveness and what, it takes too long even for those who will definitely say, well, I forgive. But it is gradual, and it takes quite a bit of time to discern and do ABCD. So this beautiful country, that is the Pearl of Africa, is being destroyed by us ourselves. When you find people getting pangas and go and chop the forest, which has even laws and regulations governing it, chop it down in the night or even during the day, when you see the impunity in most of our officers, it's really regrettable. In this country, there's nobody who would be in want or in need. Everybody would be able to live at least a certain kind of life. If all the wealth, all what we have as a country is shared equally. Nobody would be in need. We would not be saying, oh, that is a poor one. No. We have so much that can be shared and that people can benefit from. But when we get into these offices, it's like now, I'm studying in my career. The moment I finish and I get a job, my first thing is, whatever money that comes there, I must go for something else, as opposed to the actual beneficiaries for that particular money. So I don't know what could be done now for especially people in the offices. Begin with the civil servants, for that matter. And the issue of patriotism, if we were really patriotic and we really married patriotism in our lives and taken it seriously, because patriotism is all about really having upright citizens in this country. But it is the opposite. I'm not saying nothing is being done. Something is being done under the National Secretariat for Patriotism. But I think we need to go more beyond. Let patriotism now begin to enter into the church. Activities on patriotism should begin. Meet these people, agree with them, draw up programs that go deeper into the villages. Because I think sometimes if we may remain at school level, what about the parish? What about the village? What about the home? Because every village has a number of homesteads or households for that matter. So we need to go deep there, because that is where the problem is. Because if this child grows properly from this home, this patriotism is in those homes, and grows knowing this is my country, I must love it. If I cut that tree in that forest, I'm destroying my country. I'm destroying this beauty. I'm destroying this Pearl of Africa. Eventually that child will grow with that in the mind, and it should be continuous. We need to continue with this so that we eventually try to get back to a drawing board of tolerance and ensuring that we tolerate, but also we embrace. Because I think we have remained at that level. Almost everybody now is just deciding to say, today I'm going with an axe to cut that one, and he succeeds in doing it. Today I'm going to cut that one, burn charcoal, go to sell, and he succeeds in doing it. The law also needs to bite, and bite seriously. All this is happening, but don't we have the forest officers?
They're there.
Don't we have the laws? They are there. So there is also something that we must go beyond and scrutinize and find out. Who who exactly is not doing his or her part? If you are in this office, what is expected of you? By the time this issue happens here, what have you done? People need to be put to task and be able to explain their actions.
Be held accountable.
Let people be held accountable for their actions in these offices, and let the tribunal bite hard. If you have failed in this performance, you first give way. Step aside. Because I think what we are talking is something that has been talked about.
Sure.
But the issue is action.
Action.
And the issue of morals, I agree, we need to get back and have these morals. There are still good things that happened in the ancient times that we can still pick. There are those we can discard because we have outgrown some of them with the technology now and name it. So there are those few that we can still hang on.
The only one that we cannot outgrow is living in harmony.
So you find that if there is no harmony in the home, this child is on the run, even in the feeding, the child is just to look for how to survive. What do you expect of that child if he grows up? What attitude? That's the other part. Attitude, mindset change.
We once had a very spirited conversation about attitude, mindset change.
Because what is the mindset now of many of us?
Get what I must get against all odds.
So, how can we get that out and turn it for the better? Those are the questions we should be asking. How? When?
I hear you, sister.
Thank you.
Honorable Asman, our politics tends to get so heated up. We fight each other, physical fight. We hate each other. I know the enmity that has been in existence for decades, and it's a result of politics. You've participated in elective politics so many times, and I keep wondering to myself, even as we speak now, there are people who do not talk to each other because of the recently concluded election period. And I keep thinking to myself, how do we deal with this? How does tolerance come to exist within our politics? I'm interested in hearing your thought about that.
Yeah, that's a really deep question, and I thank you for it. Why do politicians or people fight so viciously for power? Because power is a means to a lot of wealth.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
That's the Ugandan standard.
Yes. I mean, if I earn nothing, I've just left university and I've been surviving on 150,000 shillings a month just to, put a chapati or a Rolex on the table once in a while. And then there is a possibility that I can actually earn 3 or 30 million shillings a month. It's a do-or-die thing. That's why the fight is so acute. Of course, the economy, if we are to solve this problem, the economy must have other opportunities equally rewarding, equally beneficial to people who are willing to work. And then we make the office of being a politician or a leader less attractive. Because if I know I can go into tree planting, I can go into goat rearing or piggery or whatever, and earn 2 or 3 times the money a political leader is earning, why should I hustle and fight and be so desperate, like if I don't get it, the end of the world is nigh? So that desperation in the fight for political office is a result of the limited opportunity that the economy offers. And you cannot solve it any other way. We shall continue fighting the way we are fighting. And it is getting even worse because our unemployment rates
is going high.
The alternatives in terms of productive engagement in the economy are not exactly that very attractive. So people look to this. This is a shortcut. The president one time proposed that actually we should make a political office less attractive by, containing or controlling how much a politician is paid. But it's a tall order.
And as he said that, the parliament was also enacting a law that allows them to decide what they should do.
No, that's a constitutional thing.
I know it has been his concern. I've been following. It has been his concern.
So if you allow a person to decide how much he's paid to himself, he will take whatever, and then you have this problem. So it is really a cycle, and it's a complex problem that Ugandans should be addressing.
So you think we should make elective officers less attractive in terms of pay?
In terms of pay and creating other alternative opportunities,
okay,
that people can channel the engagement and the...
That even if I lost whatever, an election,
Yes.
say for position of councillor, it's not big business. I can go and do other things.
Absolutely.
I understand that. Okay, we call in people to send their thoughts or questions or comments on Twitter, on WhatsApp. Let's take a look at some of them, if there are any. Thank you for bringing these officers. Disparities does not take away core values as societies. We should always cherish unity for the betterment of our country. Musinguzi John, Chotera. What sister is talking may happen in Uganda if we don't build tolerance. Tribalism is now practiced openly in Uganda and most of the majority tribes are not happy with how things are done. Okay, you were saying we are headed for trouble if we don't cultivate the spirit of tolerance. Derek in Entebbe, thank you for contributing every Thursday. To summarize what I've just heard from the guest, money has been the factor since colonialism. Many things are done because of money. Let it be politically, socially, and economically. We can minimize on the number of challenges. Okay. Patriotism isn't taught. It's an inborn character. Nobody can teach you how to love your parents. The spirit of patriotism was killed by selfish and greedy politicians in this country. You didn't put a name. This is quite much. My story, I was one time employed by one of the big banks in our country, and I was forced to resign after close to a year simply because my boss was from a different region in the country, decided to put his tribalistic desire ahead of some other factors. 3 years later, I'm very glad to market my country, Uganda, by starting up a tour company and put my country above any other thing. Being a Lugbara from Arua and not thinking about tribe as a major factor has slowly molded me into employing people from other regions like Buganda, Busoga, Bachiga, Banyankole, Acholi. Thank you so much. We've missed your name. You should have put your name. That's a good one.
Absolutely.
We've come to the tail end of this, Honorable and Sister. Your closing remarks, Honorable, in regard to tolerance.
Yeah, this is our country. We have to love it because we don't have any other country. The Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, said, Hubbul watan min al-iman. Love of your country is part of your faith. If you don't love your country, really you're not fulfilling your faith. So
I like that ayah.
It's a hadith.
Hadith, oh, okay.
Yes. So I want to appeal to our young people, our population, every citizen, that this our country must love it. If you're in office, the only way you can love your country is to use that office properly to serve the population, not yourself as an individual. If you're a citizen, you should work hard. If you're a student, study. Make yourself competent. Make yourself available for the country to benefit from your skills and abilities. So I want to end by appealing to everybody that we should try to understand our country, we should try to understand our constitution, we should try to understand our institutions, the rule of law, we should follow what the law says. We should abide by the institutional frameworks which we have. We shouldn't be arbitrary in things we do. That does not show love for the country. Lastly, of course, I said that the Leadership Tribunal is in place, and we are waiting for cases from the Inspector General of Government of abuse, of breach of the Leadership Code, and we arbitrate. If you want to know how much I own, you can apply to the IGG, ask for a declaration that I made there, and then you can start from there to find out whether what I have corresponds with what I'm earning. If the IGG denies you the opportunity to look at my declaration, you are free to appeal to the Leadership Tribunal, and the tribunal can direct the IGG
to give me the details.
Yes.
Sister Mary Grace, your last remarks in about 40 seconds.
Thank you, Frank, once again. Fellow Ugandans, this is our country. We do not have another Uganda elsewhere. This is our country, and it is called Uganda. We must love it. We must tolerate what is in this country so that we coexist peacefully. We should be able to sacrifice for this country, which is also the Pearl of Africa. When you make a sacrifice, you will be able to guard the beauty that we all want to see in this country. You will not lift an axe and go and cut trees, cut a forest that is gazetted by government. When you love this country called Uganda, you will abide by the rules and regulations in this country that govern everything that exists.
All right.
Even on the roads. And if you are in an office, kindly, that office, you are there for service, not for prestige. Not for gathering, amassing wealth, but for service. That's my advice. I thank you for listening. Once again, I want to thank you, Frank.
Welcome.
For inviting me, and again, the National Office Secretariat for Patriotism for sponsoring this show.
We thank you so much. One speaker some time back was saying that politicians in Africa are hunters and gatherers. Sister was hinting at that. Thank you so much, Honorable Asmani Chiyingi and Sister Mary Grace Akiro.
Thank you.
Thank you for turning up on the show Uganda First, a show that we hope is already instilling patriotism amongst all of us. Thank you for watching. We will be here next Thursday, same time, 11 to noon. We thank the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co. in the